He's here, the world's first and greatest Canadian superhero. This is the first full appearance of Wolverine. And guys, you have no idea how bad I wish this was a legitimate copy. This and Giant Size X-Men #1 are probably my two grails that I wish I could get my hands on. And yeah, I'm going to have to win the lottery to get these two books. But at least I was able to get a reprint of it, so heck yeah. His first cameo appearance is in the last page of Hulk 180, and then his third, I guess you'd say, appearance is Hulk 182, where he leaves the battlefield. So with that said, let's dive into this book. And I gotta say, I know that they've done a Marvel Legends homage to this uniform, but I'm really glad that they got rid of the tigery, just this weird look for the mask. I'm glad they added the black along the eyes, because that just no. So here we are. Len Wein, writer. Herb Trimpe, artist. Jack Abel, inker. Glynis Wein, colorist. Artie Simek, lettering. And Roy Thomas was the editor. And now, the Wolverine. Instant recap. Old Greenskin has been lured to Quebec, Canada as part of a fantastic plan to cure the wild-eyed woods beast called the Wendigo. But where the Emerald Man Brute is concerned, nothing is predictable. So instead of curing Wendy, the Hulk is embroiled in battle with him. And I love how the composition, before I get into this, but I just love how the text works like a T. And then we have our two fighters, and then Wolverine leaping into the center. That's just a great way to do composition with the title there. I miss stuff like this. This is the type of stuff that I actually nerd out about. That may be the photographer in me when I'm doing action figure photography, because they always talk about rule of thirds and all the different ways that you can do a composition, and just seeing that makes me excited. So with that said, it leads your eye down. A battle that rages through the forest until this godly garbed gentleman intrudes upon the scene, claws bared, teeth clenched, his face awash with almost feral fury. If you freaks want to tangle with someone, why not try your luck against me? And then it's just a full-on three-way battle, guys. And now I've seen one thing I want to talk about here. I've seen a lot of TikTok videos because, yeah, when you need a mental break, that's one of my things is I just doom scroll. So with that said, I've seen a lot of TikTokers, a lot of modern comic readers kind of making jokes about older comics, and they'll flip through like Claremont's X-Men, etc., so forth, and they'll use, I think it's the Duke Nukem audio where it says, "Those are a lot of words. Da 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 da. Too bad I'm not going to read them." And it breaks my heart because, yes, old comics can feel wordy, but here's the deal. Because I know that y'all have heard me harp so much on modern comics where it's just like it's sitting and talking, sitting and talking, sitting and talking. Here's the difference, my friends. Modern comics is just that. Not all modern comics. Let me preface that. A lot of modern comics is sitting and talking, quirky meta jokes, or the one that I tend to fall back on that really irked my Gurk was when the Krakoa Age came out and they revived New Mutants. There was like 3 or 4 pages of them just going on panel by panel talking about coffee. And by the time I was done, I was like, I do not care. Now, with that said, let's go back to this. The way they do the descriptions, this would feel like something you would read like in a novel. Not as long-winded description as a novel, obviously, but it builds the tension. And rather than just saying the Hulk, the Wendigo, the Wolverine, they're saying old Greenskin, the Emerald Man Brute, the godly garbed gentleman. Just great adjectives to add to this book. With astounding speed, the snarling Wolverine hurls forward, his very momentum scattering the two massive monsters who loom before him. Heads up, Harry, as the Wolverine's coming through. The whoosh! Huh? Little man attacks Hulk? That's about the size of it, Sonny. The government sent me to take care of you, Hulk, and I'm a gent who always does the job. Stand still, little man, or Hulk will smash. And it's just a great way. And this is something that we've all kind of talked about amongst ourselves here on the channel. I miss I forget what it's called. Is it third person narration? Because the omnipresent narrator, essentially. One of our community members, Sam Gerthy, made a real good point where even if they use these in modern comics, it's usually like Peter Parker, for example, thinking to himself while he's swinging or while he's fighting. And he made the point that that's really kind of resonated with me and kind of really made me go, yeah, that makes sense. Where what happens when they do that, our heroes have to essentially double time because they're having to do all the action, all the dialogue, and now they're having to do all the thinking for us. As we're back in the day, we would have this omnipresent narrator, like let's say the Watcher, for example, giving us these very fun adjectives, adding to the scene. And that way that our heroes could just go into battle or a dramatic scene, what have you. And then if we wanted to have a thought, let me see if I can find a good example here. Here. So let's do bump, 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 and I'll explain. The most awesomely powerful leg muscles on Earth propel the green behemoth across the glade to plow with staggering impact into his shaggy foe. Hulk has come, little friend, to help you beat Wendigo. Because in the plot here, Wolverine essentially, like Hulk sees that Wolverine's fighting Wendigo. So Hulk immediately thinks he's his friend. So keep that in mind. Now, here we said the green behemoth, but the emerald man brute may have spoken a trifle prematurely, as suddenly, Wendigo. Ugh. Wendigo strength strong, but Hulk and Hulk's friend are stronger. Hulk and Hulk's friend will smash Wendigo. Now, I want to kind of set up the scene. We had our narrator. We had dialogue. Now, thought balloons. I miss thought balloons. Because again, the narrator's setting the scene, kind of building whatever may be, action, tension, drama, whatever. And then our characters in the story talk it out. But the way that we kind of get that behind the veil, the Johari window, as it's called, Wolverine's thinking to himself as he's attacking Wendigo. Don't understand why that big green brute suddenly thinks I'm his buddy, but it's a little misconception I can make use of. Quickly, my friend Hulk, while I've got the Wendigo distracted, attack him. Ha! Is good plan, friend. Hulk will do as you say. But first, little friend must go away from Wendigo, because what Hulk does now, only Hulk can do. And then he thinks again, incredible. The Hulk threw the Wendigo with force enough to uproot a stand of trees, but the wood beast is still conscious. So look at this. We have 3 different ways that our story, other than obviously the visual storytelling here, the narrator, dialogue, thought balloons, and the page. So I guess you could say 4 different ways that we're telling this story. We don't need to hear every single thing that Wolverine's thinking. There are times where it's, again, art is a subjective medium, and you can use whatever you want. But the thought of getting rid of the omnipresent narrator and getting rid of thought balloons in most modern comics has just really killed a lot of the vibe for me. Because now we're trying to keep up. For example, the one that just for whatever reason comes to mind, the Chip Zdarsky's run on Batman. It was good, don't get me wrong. But we're trying to keep up with all the action with Bruce fighting that robot machine of himself. I don't remember what the character was called. But then we know we're getting these very kind of overly dramatic thoughts of Bruce Wayne. And then we're trying to keep up with the dialogue. And it feels tiresome. And to a degree, trying to keep up with the thoughts and the dialogue in that regard, it's just exhausting. Here, I know that all this is doing is setting the pace, making me feel the action as it's going. As we crescendo to Hulk throwing the Wendigo and then Wolverine pouncing him. The Hulk did his best, but it just wasn't good enough. So it's up to me to finish this little Danny Brook and fast. With the savage ferocity of the creature for which he is named, the Wolverine hurls himself upon the fury nightmare. There is a shrill hissing, and his adamantium talons flash through the air, a sickening thwunk as they strike. So let's get off the meta stuff for a moment. Well, I guess you can still say this is meta. Anyway, I don't care. Even though this is the first appearance of Wolverine, notice here, there is a shrill hissing as his adamantium talons flash through the air, a sickening thunk as they strike. Take a moment. Why do you think that's important? So, there's no snick that hadn't been created yet. Now, for those of you that are more knowledgeable than me, I can't remember. Did the snick come around when was it Dave Cockrum? Was it John Byrne that introduced that in the X-Men? Because I just off the top of my head, I can't remember. Or was it when they finally did the first volume of Wolverine with Frank Miller? Is that where it came about? I cannot remember. Let us know down in the comments so that we can add to this. But I just find that very poignant that even though we get Wolverine with that really bad looking mask, we don't get the snick, which is what, and if, again, another little anecdote, you guys know how I am. Every time I think of Snick, I always think of Mallrats when with Jay and Silent Bob, where he's like, "Snickety snooch, I'm Wolverine, snickety snick." So there, now you guys have to suffer that with me as well. Oh, and the good old fun ads. Now to kind of go into the story, so you guys can kind of get an idea. They think that they've defeated Wendigo. A strange, uneasy silence settles over the scene. The threat of Wendigo is ended, or so it seems. And the Hulk peers at his pint-sized companion in quiet confusion. Does not know what to say to the Wolverine now that the battle is done. Does not know how he should respond to this somber little man. But when the Wolverine suddenly lashes out with customary savagery, the Hulk's response becomes almost automatic. "All right, you green skin, it's your turn to take us thrashing. Puny little man, Hulk thought you were Hulk's friend. Hulk trusted you, but you betrayed Hulk, attacked Hulk just like the other puny humans. Hulk has known. Little man made fool of Hulk, and for that Hulk will smash." And so the battle with them continues. And then we kind of get a B plot with Wendigo. Hidden in the pre-dawn shadows nearby, an uncomfortable George Baptiste and a grim Marie Cartier, the girl who lured the Hulk to Quebec, watched the raging battle with a mixture of horror and anxious anticipation. "Marie, do you see the madness you've wrought? Your brother has fallen, perhaps mortally wounded, and it's all your fault." "Nonsense, Georges. Everything is going better than expected. The Wendigo can't be harmed. You know that." So essentially, her brother, George's friend, is the Wendigo. "The Hulk and the one called Wolverine merely saved us the task of overcoming Paul all by ourselves. Now quickly, while they're distracted, help me carry Paul's body inside. Marie, I beg you, please consider this insanity. What you intend to do is unnatural, unholy, and dangerous." And so essentially, because I haven't read up to this point, I think it was Georges who screwed up and got Paul turned into the Wendigo. And his sister is like a sorceress to a degree, so you guys get that kind of that idea. Now check this out. Where is that? Hold on. A sun also rising behind a secret Canadian military complex, nestled deep in the sheltering hills, not too very far away, where we have come to eavesdrop on a most pertinent conversation. Any word from Weapon X yet? Any word from Weapon X as yet, Matthews? So there it is. This would also be the first time that he was called Weapon X. Now, one thing that I want to preface here that I think is kind of interesting, if let's go to 1995, Age of Apocalypse. Remember, Wolverine's book was called Weapon X, and that's what he went by. So, Age of Apocalypse, Charles Xavier died. Wasn't able to form the X-Men. Shortly after his death in Cairo in the past, Apocalypse takes over. So at that point, Logan was taken by Weapon X, given the claws, but that was the only name he knew. So I think that's why, and I love that was it Larry Hama? I think it was Larry Hama that wrote Weapon X. Went back, looked at this, at least I think he looked at this, and took the Weapon X name because he wouldn't become Wolverine, etc., so forth. And it's just a fun little tidbit, kind of like how when you read Generation Next, how Kitty has the claws and smokes cigars and has that nasty attitude because at some point he still trained her like he did in the Kitty Pryde and Wolverine miniseries, but not in the same capacity where Wolverine had the compassion that our 616 counterpart has. So, taking a breath now, antidote aside, I just thought that was kind of interesting. So first, name drop of Weapon X. And the battle rages on. And that unnamed officer may speak more truly than even he knows. For back at the battle site, blast you, Greenskin, no one could be that strong. Why in blazes don't you fall? Strong? Pwah. Puny little man, Hulk will show you strong. See how easy Hulk lifts big rock that will smash you with. Yes, Hulk, I see. And while that's happening, nothing Jade Jaws? We'll see about that. For on a small rise just behind you, everything's in readiness. The sun is precisely at the right angle. The breeze is blowing perfectly. Marie, don't do this. As your brother's best friend, I beseech you. As my brother's best friend, you'll do exactly as I say. Since it's your fault, he became the Wendigo in the first place. As explained in Hulk 162, for those of you that are interested. She essentially wants to transfer the Wendigo curse to the Hulk to save her brother. And Georges is just like, it's bad enough to do what you had planned to a simple, mindless monster, but to do it to a man? Never! Because she sees the Hulk turn into Bruce Banner. I'm sorry, Marie, but I'm through with this madness. But you can't be, Georges. You owe a debt to my brother and to me. Perhaps I did, Marie. But you take into account the price I've paid with my immortal soul for our atrocities. And the debt has been more than paid in full. No, Georges, come back. And it's just, and what I love is even though we're getting this raging battle, we still get this really interesting, heartbreaking scene between these characters, and you actually care about them. They don't just feel like window dressing. Yes, it's the B plot, but still, even though you maybe not know these characters very well, Wein here is really making you care. You really feel the plight of Georges. He stills himself against Marie's plaintive cries and strides somberly into the forest depths. There, out of the sight of the stone slab hovel, amidst an evergreen beauty that speaks silently of a peace he may never find again, Georges sits and thinks. The image of Marie's lovely face, scarred by lines of torment, dances madly before his eyes, and a single, anguished sob escaping his lips. Georges knows what he must do. And this book essentially ends on a cliffhanger, because everyone thinks, this was the major battle. It continues on into 182. So with that said, guys, Wendigo does make another appearance. But why? You have to finish the book. How does the battle rage on? You guys are going to have to check this out. What happens to Marie? Again, if you guys have enjoyed what you've seen, please first and foremost support your local comic shop. And if you have the ducats, definitely grab an original book, because this is one of those ones that are just going to continue to rise in price. And if you guys have enjoyed this review, really would appreciate if you take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Helps the channel more than you could possibly know. And if you don't mind hitting that fancy little adamantium bell next to subscribe, that way when we continue to upload content, you guys get notified. Come to the channel, and I love talking with you all and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments or the socials. And with that said, guys, if you do enjoy what I do and you want to support the channel, I've left a PayPal link in the description as well. And if not, I still appreciate you watching this video. Thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, everyone.